Subscribing is absolutely free, and every time you do, a ghost somewhere gives a friendly little thumbs up. So do your part, click that button and make a spectral buddy happy today. Also, liking this video confuses the algorithm in the best way possible, so let's keep it guessing. In Centralia, Pennsylvania, a simple act of controlled burn unleashed a force that no one saw coming, a fire that would never die creeping through the earth, consuming everything in its path. And yet, it wasn't the town that was consumed, it was something else. A presence. A hunger beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to rise. But what is waiting, and why does it linger unseen? On May 27, 1962, the Centralia Borough Council, in its ignorance, sanctioned a simple act of fire controlled burn at the town's landfill. They did not know they were lighting a signal flare to something beneath. When the flames licked at the exposed coal seam, it did not simply ignite, it answered. The fire took hold with an unnatural hunger, spreading into the labyrinthine coal veins that crisscrossed beneath the town as if it had been waiting. It smoldered not as an accident, but as something awakened, unseen, and insatiable. By 1969, the town's foundations had begun to whisper of its doom. Tremors shuddered through the ground, and the wind carried voices that weren't quite the wind. When excavation teams dug into the trembling earth, they found heat beyond reason, deeper than physics should allow. Flames danced at the edges of their vision, shapes shifting in the inferno. Toxic gases slithered from the fissures, curling into tendrils, creeping into homes, filling lungs with whispers of surrender. The people of Centralia were still naive, believing the fire was merely physical, a problem solvable by men. But men do not put out the fires of the void. By 1979, the thing below had grown bold. John Coddington, the town's gas station owner, discovered his underground gasoline tanks had reached a really high temperature. Heat should have ignited the fuel, reduced the town to smoldering ash. But it did not. It held back, waiting as if testing the limits of its plaything. The fire did not want destruction, it wanted endurance. It wanted to spread not just through the coal, but through the people. On February 14, 1981, 12-year-old Todd Domboski was playing near his grandmother's home when the earth opened its mouth. A 4-foot wide, 150-foot deep chasm yawned beneath him. Steam did not rise from its depths, it exhaled, a breath ancient and wrong, thick with unseen voices. As Todd dangled over the abyss, the tendrils of carbon monoxide reached for him like unseen fingers. He was not meant to leave, but something, perhaps a lingering human mercy, allowed his cousin, Eric Wolfgang, to pull him back. The chasm sealed behind them, as if disappointed, as if waiting for another chance. By 1984, the town's death knell had been sounded. The U.S. Congress allocated $42 million to relocate its residents, but those who left felt something was watching them go. Many who remained claimed to see figures in the smoke, shapes flickering at the edges of burning fissures, long-limbed things that moved in the haze. They spoke in brittle voices, whispers carried on the wind that twisted into half-formed words. The town emptied, but the fire never did. In 1992, Pennsylvania Governor Bob Casey invoked eminent domain, officially condemning Centralia. On paper, the land belonged to the state, but the state could not own what had already been taken. The few who remained reported missing time, finding themselves standing miles from where they last remembered, hearing their own name in the wind before waking up in their beds. Their homes no longer felt like their own, yet they stayed clinging to empty structures, human husks refusing to let go. By 2002, Centralia was erased. The U.S. Postal Service revoked its ZP code to 17927, stripping it from maps, erasing it from the system, making it a town that did not exist. But the fire did. Beneath the ruins, it burned hotter, spreading deeper, wider. The few remaining residents began to whisper about dreams of tunnels, of vast caverns filled with something watching, waiting. Some walked into the smoke and never returned. Others spoke of names they had never heard but had always known. On October 29, 2013, the final agreement was struck. Those who remained would be allowed to live out their days, but upon their deaths, their homes would return to the earth. They would be given the illusion of choice, the false promise of safety, but the land beneath them was not theirs anymore. It belonged to the thing beneath, the thing they could not name. The graffiti highway, once a vibrant ruin of color and defiance, it was finally swallowed in April 2020. The company that owned it buried it beneath tons of earth, as if hoping that layer upon layer of soil could suppress what lay beneath. But Centralia was never truly abandoned. It only shed its skin. Centralia was not consumed by an accident. It was not a town destroyed by fire. It was a town claimed. The fire beneath still smolders, not because it cannot be put out, but because it does not want to be. The ground shifts, waiting, the smoke twists, whispering, and in the dark beneath the ruins something listens. Bodie, California is one of the most infamous and well-preserved ghost towns in the United States. It's a place where the past still lingers in the form of eerie legends, strange occurrences, and a deep sense of mystery that has fascinated ghost hunters, historians, and thrill seekers for decades. The town, which once a booming gold mining community in the late 1800s, is now a ghost town, but its haunted history continues to captivate those who visit. Here are a few of the most chilling and true stories tied to Bodie that have cemented its place in the annals of American paranormal lore. One of the most spine-chilling tales from Bodie involves a photographer who was capturing the ghost town's dilapidated buildings, hoping to preserve the haunting beauty of the abandoned structures. While snapping photos of the long, forgotten town, the photographer captured an image of a seemingly empty building. However, when the photo was developed, a mysterious figure appeared in one of the windows, a figure that had not been visible when the picture was taken. The ghostly miner, as it's now known, was clearly standing in the window, staring out with indistinguishable features as though trapped in time. Some skeptics argue that the figure might have been a trick of the light, a reflection, or even a flaw in the camera's lens. But others, especially those who have a deep knowledge of Bodie's haunting past, believe it was the spirit of a long dead miner who had once toiled in the town's gold mines. To this day, the photo remains one of the most compelling pieces of evidence of the supernatural forces said to haunt the area. The idea that this spirit might be trapped within the old town has continued to intrigue and unsettle visitors, leaving them questioning whether it was just a trick of the eye or something much darker and more supernatural at play. Bodie's schoolhouse is a well-preserved relic of the past, with its old desks and chalkboard still standing in place as if waiting for children to return. But those who have ventured inside the schoolhouse at night often report a sense of unease, as if something, or someone, is still there. Several visitors have described hearing strange noises that seem impossible to explain. Footsteps echo on the second floor of the building when no one is upstairs, and the sound of children's laughter or the faint scraping of a chalkboard can be heard in the otherwise quiet building. One particularly unsettling report came from a group of tourists who claimed to hear the distinct sound of a bell ringing, as if calling children to class. But when they investigated, no bell was found and no one was there. Many believe that the spirits of the children who once attended the school before the town was abandoned still linger, unwilling to move on. These ghostly children are said to be trapped in the town, forever reliving their past lives. The schoolhouse has become a focal point for those hoping to experience a brush with the supernatural in Bodie, and it has yet to disappoint. The Miners' Union Hall was once the social heart of Bodie, where miners would gather after a hard day's work to drink, socialize, and discuss the events of the day. Even though the town was abandoned long ago, the Union Hall still carries an aura of activity. Some say that the spirits of the miners who spent their lives working in the gold mines are still lingering within the Union Hall, refusing to leave their beloved town behind. One of the most famous stories comes from a visitor who saw a man in 19th century mining clothes standing at the bar, as if waiting for a drink. The visitor turned to tell their friends about the sighting, but when they turned back to look at the man, he had vanished, without a trace. This eerie encounter has been reported by others, and many believe that these ghost miners are still reliving their days in the town, unable to let go of the life they once knew. The sound of clinking glasses and faint voices have also been heard, despite the building being empty, leading many to believe the Union Hall is haunted by its former patrons. Whether these spirits are trapped by their memories or simply drawn to the place they loved, the Union Hall remains one of the most haunted locations in Bodie. Beyond the decaying buildings of Bodie lies the old cemetery, where many of the town's original residents are buried. The cemetery is a quiet, somber place, but it is also a site of intense supernatural activity. Nighttime visitors often report seeing strange shadows moving between the gravestones, while others have felt an inexplicable drop in temperature as they walk through the area. Some people have even described seeing figures standing near the graves, figures that seem to vanish when approached. One particularly unsettling story comes from a night tour guide who was walking through the cemetery when they saw a figure standing at a gravestone. As the guide approached the figure, it disappeared right before their eyes, leaving them standing alone in the darkness. Local legend has it that these restless spirits are still searching for something they never found in life, causing them to remain trapped in the cemetery for eternity. Whether they are searching for closure, redemption, or just peace, their presence lingers, creating an air of unease for anyone who dares to visit. Bodie was once a thriving gold mining town, and during its heyday, it was a bustling community full of fortune seekers, miners, and dreamers. But as the gold dried up and the town began to decline, rumors spread that not all of the gold had been retrieved from the mines. According to local legend, some miners, fearing the inevitable collapse of the town, hid their gold before they left, hoping to return one day to claim it. But as the years passed, the treasure was never found. At least some believe that the miners' spirits are still searching for the gold they hid. In fact, many visitors to Bodie claim have seen ghostly figures, dressed in period mining clothes, digging around the old ruins of the town at night, as if they are still searching for the treasure they buried long ago. This mystery has added to the eerie reputation of Bodie, attracting treasure hunters and paranormal enthusiasts alike, all hoping to uncover the secrets of the lost gold. While the gold may remain hidden, the spirits of the miners seem to have never left, still searching the land they once worked in life. Poveglia, a desolate island located between Venice and Lido in Italy, is not just another eerie destination. It is a place steeped in mystery, torment, and tragedy. Shrouded by thick legends and rumors, this forsaken island has earned a reputation as one of the most haunted and cursed places in the world. From being a quarantine station during the bubonic plague to a mental asylum, Poveglia's bloody history has left it with scars that may never heal. Today, the island remains abandoned, a grim reminder of its tragic past, and continues to captivate the imaginations of those drawn to its haunting reputation. Let's dive deeper into the stories that have been linked to this horrifying place. The island's journey into darkness began in the 18th century when it was repurposed as a quarantine station for those infected with the deadly bubonic plague. At the time, Venice was dealing with an influx of the disease, and Poveglia became the final resting place for countless victims. It's said that thousands of sick and dying individuals were brought to the island, abandoned to die alone, far away from the bustling city of Venice. As many as 160,000 people are believed to have perished here, either from the plague or from the cruelty of being left to their fate. With no way of truly caring for them, their bodies were burned or tossed into mass graves. The sheer magnitude of death left behind an energy so dark and overwhelming that it's said the souls of those who perished are still trapped on the island, wandering in agony. Many visitors report hearing disturbing sounds, such as the cries of the deceased or the whispers of spirits, especially near the ruins of the old quarantine hospital. Some claim they can still feel the weight of the past pressing down on them, as if the island itself is haunted by the echoes of those who were abandoned to die. In the 1920s, Poveglia was repurposed yet again, this time as a mental asylum. The island, already drenched in death and suffering, now became a place where the insane were sent to rot. The asylum's dark history is marked by disturbing stories of cruelty and medical experimentation. Perhaps the most chilling tale is that of a doctor who worked at the asylum, a man whose descent into madness mirrored the island's own grim reputation. Some believe that the spirits of the plague victims began to torment him, driving him to the edge. The doctor, convinced that the ghosts were haunting him, reportedly became obsessed with the supernatural. His paranoia grew, and in an act of desperation or insanity, he climbed to the top of the bell tower and jumped to his death. His body was found at the base of the tower, but whether it was truly suicide or something more sinister remains unclear. His death, however, cemented Poveglia's place as a cursed location where the living and the dead were inextricably bound together. The spirit of the doctor is said to still haunt the bell tower, with some claiming that they can feel his presence near the tower, lingering like an omen of despair. The bell tower of Poveglia Island stands as a towering monument to its tragic past. Originally part of the quarantine station, the tower later became a key part of the mental asylum. Today, the tower remains as a silent witness to the island's history, but it's far from silent at night. Some believe that the bell tolls, even though it hasn't rung in decades. The sound of the bell is said to echo through the empty ruins, tolling for the souls of those who perished on the island. Some claim it is the bell tolling for the plague victims, whose deaths remain unacknowledged, while others say it's the restless soul of the doctor who jumped to his death, still trapped in the tower and driven mad by the island's curse. Either way, the bell's eerie sound has become a symbol of Poveglia's haunting presence. For those brave enough to visit the island after dark, the sound of the tolling bell is enough to send chills down their spine, as if the island itself is trying to communicate with the living. If you think you can escape Poveglia's ghost by avoiding the bell tower, you would be mistaken. Reports from paranormal investigators and daring visitors alike speak of a chilling phenomenon, the voices of the dead. These voices often emerge from nowhere, as if coming from the very ground beneath their feet. Some claim to hear the agonizing cries of the plague victims, while others say they hear faint whispers or the sounds of footsteps, as though someone is walking behind them. The most terrifying accounts involve shadowy figures that appear seemingly out of nowhere. Visitors have described seeing human-like forms lurking in the ruins, only to turn around and find no one there. During one investigation, an expert on paranormal phenomena reported seeing a figure near the bell tower, only for it to vanish as they approached. The experience left them filled with dread, as though something was watching them. These encounters are common, and they only add to Poveglia's reputation as an island where the dead are not at rest. Beneath the surface of Poveglia lies a dark secret, a mass grave known as the Plague Pit. Here, thousands of bodies were hastily buried in shallow graves, their remains thrown together without ceremony or respect. Some accounts suggest that the bodies were piled in huge heaps, and that the stench of death permeated the island for years. Today, the Plague Pit is considered one of the most haunted spots on Poveglia, with paranormal investigators often reporting feelings of nausea, dizziness, and an overwhelming sense of dread when near the area. Many believe that the spirits of those buried in the pit continue to haunt the land, their anger and suffering forever etched into the island's soil. The oppressive energy in this area is so strong that some claim it's impossible to remain there for long without feeling ill or overwhelmed by fear. Today, Poveglia Island remains largely off limits to the public, further adding to its mystique and reputation as a cursed place. The Italian government has made illegal to visit the island without special permission, but that hasn't stopped thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts from sneaking onto its shores. Those who have managed to sneak past the barriers often report an overwhelming sense of dread as soon as they step foot on the island. Some claim they feel as though they are being watched, while others experience sudden bouts of panic or sickness. The idea that Poveglia itself is cursed, that the land is haunted by the souls of the plague victims and the restless spirits of those who died there has persisted for centuries. There's an eerie belief that stepping onto the island brings with it a curse, one that could drive people mad or even cause them to disappear entirely. For many, the very fact that Poveglia remains uninhabited and forbidden only adds to the sense of malevolence that surrounds it. In recent years, there have been rumors of explorers who ventured onto Poveglia only to vanish without a trace. While there are no official reports of these disappearances, numerous accounts describe people entering the island and never returning. Locals tell stories of adventurers who, after exploring the island for hours, simply disappeared. Some say the restless spirits of the plague victims or the souls of the mental asylum's patients dragged these explorers into the depths of the island, never to be seen again. Whether these disappearances are mere legend or something more sinister is unknown, but they have only added to the island's reputation as a place where the dead hold sway over the living. The fact that Poveglia remains largely abandoned and off limits has only fueled these rumors, further cementing its place as one of the most cursed and terrifying locations in the world. Poveglia is a place where history and the supernatural collide. Its tragic past of disease, death, and madness has left the island with an aura of malevolence that still lingers today. Whether you believe in the stories or not, there's no denying that the island's history has created a terrifying reputation that continues to captivate the imaginations of those drawn to it, for those brave, or foolish, enough to venture there. Poveglia offers a chilling reminder that some places are best left forgotten.